everybody, it's Kat here and welcome to Knit Kat Paddywhack. I have a knitting podcast on this channel where I share everything about knitting, spinning, dyeing, sometimes other textile and fibre crafts. Today though, I would normally be filming a podcast episode. However, I have a couple of reasons not to do that this week. One of them is that I just don't have anything terribly interesting to share with you guys. And the other thing is that I want to save my next podcast episode for when I have got to 1,000 subscribers, which will be very soon. But I will be doing a giveaway for that, so I will announce that in my next podcast episode. So this is a bit of a short, different video. I didn't want to leave you guys a whole month without a video, so hopefully you enjoy it. And so today I'm going to be sharing some knitting books. So 3 of my favourites, which I own, I've picked out to show you guys, and also 3 library books which I borrowed just the other day and I thought they were pretty neat, so I thought that I would show them to you guys as well, and so you guys can get a bit of inspiration. But yeah, just for a little bit of an update of what's going on. So yes, I am nearly at 1,000 subscribers. By the way, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Ravelry and my blog as well. So I'm at knitcatpaddywhack.com and my handle for all the social media is knitcatpaddywhack. So anyway, yes, so I'm going to be doing a giveaway. The feedback from people, because I asked what you would like to win if you were to win a giveaway, is that people like a physical product. So I think I'm going to do that. I have done it that way in the past. I was just a bit worried about shipping taking a long time, but if people don't mind that, I will get something from a local yarn business, local to me here in Tasmania, and ship that out. But details of that will be in the next podcast episode. And the other thing is, first of all, I'm really glad that I told you guys last episode that I'm pregnant, because it is really hard to hide it now. Here's my tummy, so I'm getting pretty big. I'm not usually quite so round in the face. But so yes, pregnancy and everything. I asked about if people would be interested in joining in on a blanket along, where I'm going to be knitting my baby a blanket. I thought maybe I'd open it up. If other people want to knit a blanket at the same time as me, we could start up a chat on Ravelry and I could do a little giveaway at the end. So I have not had much interest in that, but I thought I might just go ahead and start a blanket along. I'll make it go for a pretty long time so that people can join in along the way. So I might make it go until the end of the year. My baby is due in August, so hopefully I'll have mine done by August, but I do have plans to do other blankets this year as well. So maybe I can do a couple for the blanket along, but also stay tuned for the next podcast episode to find out more details about that. But I think that I will be doing a blanket along to celebrate my baby, and also just to have something fun to do with all you other knitters out there. So with all of that said, let's get into the real content of today's video, which is talking about some books. So I have 3 favourites that I have owned for a very long time. I was actually looking at them. They were all bought within the first 2 years of me learning to knit. And actually one of them is not a knitting book, it is a spinning book. So I will start in the order that I got them in, and I'll tell you why I love the books, what I've made from them, and also a little bit about how I got them and things like that, because some of them have, or 2 of them have interesting stories, I guess. So this one I acquired. It is called Fun and Funky Knitting, 30 Easy Accessories to Inspire by Emma King. So I taught myself to knit when I was 20. I got this that same year. So my grandma had taught me like the basics when I was a little girl. Like I think most people's grandmas taught them how to do that. But I really learned how to do more than just the knit, stitch and casting on and stuff when I was 20, and I learnt from books. And I think I'd posted a couple of things on my Facebook of what I'd completed. And then very soon after I started learning to knit, this came in the mail with no explanation. I was like, cool, where did this come from? But it was actually from my auntie Kathy. So if you are watching, Auntie Kathy, thank you. She lives in England, and yes, I am named after her. We used to, before I got married, we had the same first name and last name. So yes, this is an old favourite of mine. I got it within the first couple of months of me learning how to knit, and I've made several things from it. So it's pretty nice. It uses Rowan yarns, I think almost exclusively. Yes, it does use a selection of yarns from the Rowan Yarn collection. So I don't know if it's made by Rowan Yarns or not, but it is easy patterns, which I was able to do when I learned. Like, by the time I got this book, I was able to do pretty much all of the patterns in it. They're all knit flat. They're all like different accessories. So there's like some bags, there's scarves, of course, beanies, gloves, there's belts, socks, so socks knit flat. There's also knitted, other accessories like a knitting needle case, but there's some knitted wire projects as well. So I have made several things from this book. I don't think I did any of the wire ones from this book, but I have knitted with wire before. But I'll show you the ones that I have made. I have made this beanie, which is one of, if not the first beanie I ever knit. And I still have and wear this beanie. And you can see here it's got beading, so that was a new technique for me. It's also got this really interesting scalloped bit here. And I'll show you a picture of that beanie that I have. It's called the Berry beanie. I have also made a pair of mittens, these mittens, and I made them for my auntie, the auntie who gave me this book, and I made the first one wrong and I fixed it, sort of. So this is Intarsia. I didn't know what Intarsia was at the time, so I just did it Fair Isle. Not that I'd ever done Fair Isle before, I don't think either, but anyway, I did it Fair Isle, and then it was like not going great. You know, when you start doing Fair Isle, it's hard to get the tension right. And I was knitting the first mitten at my friend's place, and her mum said, you can use a new ball for when you change colours. And so I did that with the second one, and I was like, that's great. That was way better. So I think I cut all the floats and wove them in on the first one. Anyway, it was good enough to send to my auntie, and she sent me a lovely picture of her wearing them. And I didn't realise, but I'd knitted them in her favourite two colours, orange and pink. And I have made, the other thing that I've made is, I think that I've made a flower from here. So they had some flowers as like accessories, like brooches and stuff. I think I've made this before, but I can't tell you what I put it on or why. I didn't make it as a brooch, but that, I'm pretty sure I made that as well. And that's called Clematis. So yeah, this fun and funky knitting book. By the way, I will be linking all of these books down below where you can buy them. Some of them links might be affiliate links, if I can find affiliate links for them. So what that means is if you buy a book using that link, I will get a commission, but it doesn't cost you any more to do it that way. So I might put some affiliate links down below. If I can't find affiliate links, there'll just be normal links where you can buy these books. So the second book, so I wanted to do them in order, didn't I? So the second book that I own that I wanted to show you, it was this one, and it is called Picture Perfect Knits. And it was a 21st birthday present from some of my wonderful friends that I used to volunteer with. And so 21st birthday, so I've been knitting for like 6 months or something at the time. It's a really interesting book, and I learned a lot from it. So that's why it's one of my favourites. I think I've only ever knitted one pattern from it though. But basically it's an Intarsia, it's all full of Intarsia patterns and also just charts on their own, and it tells you how to knit Intarsia. So that was really valuable for me. I actually really love Intarsia. I've done quite a bit of it. I learned how to do the techniques from this book. So they've got information about intarsia techniques, also how to handle your yarn, like using butterflies or making using bobbins as well. Because when you do intarsia, it can get a bit messy and fiddly with all the different tails of the yarn. By the way, if you are new to knitting and you don't know what intarsia is, it is a kind of colour work where you change to a new ball of wool every time you change the colour. And so you will carry, for example, this heart here, this chart, you would use 3 different balls of yarn for this bit. So you'd use 1 white, 1 pink and 1 white, and you could carry the pink almost all the way up. This bit here would have to be a separate ball as well. So you'd have 5 different balls up here. So you'd have white, pink, white. You can sort of cheat a little bit and float for a couple of stitches, but strictly speaking, intarsia is changing the ball every time you change the colour, which is different to stranded colour work or fair isle, where you are carrying the yarn behind the work, and so you're carrying the colours with you the whole length of the row. So it was just a really useful book to teach me these techniques that were new to me. I will show you the pattern that I have knitted, and it's one of the projects that I'm most proud of still, and it is this Che Guevara cushion. I have no political affiliation, by the way, but I made this for one of my best friends. So this was a 21st present for me. My birthday's in January. This friend was born in April, and I made this Che Guevara cushion for her, and I will post some pictures of the real thing if I can find them on the screen so you can see my version of this. But it was lots of fun, and it really lit a fire for me in enjoying intarsia. And if you guys have been following me for some time, you'll know that when I was pregnant with my second child, this baby that I'm pregnant with now is my third. When I was pregnant with my second, I posted a free pattern for a blanket that I designed, and half of the blanket blocks for that were intarsia, the other half were textured patterns. So I do really love intarsia. I love that you can basically paint a picture with the yarn. And on my version, I kind of muffed it a bit, but on the back side, I did an illusion knit. But I didn't do it tight enough, so the illusion is not very clear to see. But I have one of these friendships with this friend where we communicate by making fun of each other. I don't think I'm the only one who has friends like that. And so the illusion message was "you smell," which is very mature. But we've been friends since we were 13, so yeah, don't judge me. But yeah, so that is the only pattern I've made from this book, but it comes with heaps of other intarsia charts that are standalone. It's also got other patterns, for example, this Argyle vest, and it's a bit more like edgy, some of them, like they've got, where is it? Skull and Crossbones scarf there as well. But they've got some cute little things like squirrels that I would totally have thought that would be done stranded. But anyway, the snail with a love heart for some reason. There's one of Lennon. I think it's Lennon. Where is that one? Oh, and there's even a spot for you to do your own chart. Look at that one. That is complicated. Aha, here it is. Found it finally. Is it Lenin? Some kind of political leader. By the way, the reason why I made a Che Guevara cushion for my friend is that we did history together at school, and she got quite interested in the history of Latin America. So that is why I made her that cushion. So yes, that was Picture Perfect Knits. I didn't tell you who it was by. It's by Laura Birek. And yeah, again, this will be linked down below if you're interested in looking at it. The third book that is a book that I own that I wanted to show you is a spinning book, and it's a classic. It's called The Intentional Spinner. I think if you are a spinner, you may have heard of it. It comes with a DVD, but I have misplaced the DVD somewhere. I didn't take this with me when I moved to Tasmania, and by the time one time when I went home, I was hunted and hunted for this book and found it, and it didn't have the DVD in it, so I don't know where the DVD is. But anyway, this book is, it's a classic. It's by Judith Mackenzie McEwen, and she goes into so much detail about spinning, including different types of fibre. This one is about cellulose fibres and how they're extracted. So that was really interesting to find out about flax fibre. There's a little bit of historical information as well about the fibres. It goes on about different types of animal fibre, and it goes into quite a lot of detail about that as well. So it does goat, camel, guanacos, vicunias, rabbit, bison. Like, there is so much detail. Yak, Cuviat, Tibetan antelope. Like, these are such unusual fibres. And even byssus, silk of the sea, which is used as a sea creature to extract fibre for spinning. And also they talk about manufactured fibres, all of that stuff, which is just really interesting. Spinning is such you could really dive down into a rabbit hole, because there's just so many paths you can go down. And then we've got the science of fibres. So it talks about the porosity, the difference between hair and fur, between cellulose, protein, manufactured fibres, burn test results, also information about some interesting equipment for like the McMorran balance, information about thickness of the fibres, and then how different ways to repair yarn. Finally, like towards getting from halfway through the book is when it starts talking to you about how to actually spin the yarn. So that is how detailed it is. And it's got like personal stories as well from Judith Mackenzie McEwen, and I found this very useful. It's kind of like a textbook for spinning. And spinning is not something that I am an expert in at all. I'm much more of a knitter, although not an expert knitter either. But this is very useful for me to refer back to when I'm spinning and I get a little bit stuck. The other thing I wanted to show you is that she also has some patterns, which is cool because it tells you how to spin the yarn and then how to knit or crochet or weave it. I can't weave and I can barely crochet, so mostly I would do the knitting patterns in it, but I haven't actually done them, though that shawl looked quite nice. But anyway, this is the Intentional Spinner. It's just a classic. It's a good one to have if you are a spinner. I think that the instructional DVD was really useful as well. I'm a bit sad that I've lost it. But anyway, so the other thing I wanted to show you was just the other day I went to the library with my kids, had a look at the art and craft section, and I found some quite interesting looking books that I borrowed. When I pretty often borrow knitting books from the library. I pretty rarely will knit a pattern from them these days, because I've got such a backlog of things that I want to knit, and also I mostly borrow them for the inspiration because I really just like leafing through them. But this first one here is called The Art of Seamless Knitting, and on the back it says learn how to convert flat patterns to circular techniques. And this book is by Simona Merchant Dest and Fina Gerberstein. Sorry if I am mispronouncing that. But I thought it was quite interesting. I think, I've done seamless knitting before. I've done top-down sweaters and things like that. But I do like that it has got a lot of variety in this book. So it's got, like seamless cardigans, seamless, yoked sweaters, which is sort of like a classic seamless pattern, I think, for me. But this is a really beautiful lace one. And they are organised. They're organised in the type of texture so like lace, cables, textured, that sort of thing. So I got socks. This really beautiful tunic. which I love. And some of these are like obviously that you would do them seamlessly, like socks and this little capelet sort of thing. It's calls it a cowl. But some of them I think are a little bit more surprising. Like some of the sweaters, if I were to look at them, I would think that they were done, in pieces with certain sleeves and things. But these are all using seamless techniques. And yeah, like, the beanies, I think it's pretty obvious that a beanie would be seamless a lot of the time unless you're knitting them on flat needles. But I thought that was a pretty interesting one just for me to leaf through, and I thought some of the patterns were really beautiful. So that one's called The Art of Seamless Knitting. And one thing that I thought was good about this seamless knitting book was that it does go into a bit of detail about the construction of seamless projects, like raglan shaping, circular yoke shaping. It also talks about how to do jogless knitting, which is useful as well. So, different techniques for doing jogless stripes and also jogless, colour work as well. So that was quite interesting. And also chapter 2 is about fitting, getting a good fit for your projects. And yeah, it goes into quite a bit of detail. So I don't know if I'll knit anything from this, but I think that it's a pretty neat book and I'll enjoy leafing through it before I have to return it. This other one I borrowed, I've seen it before, I've never borrowed it before, but it's got a funny title. So it's called Never Knit Your Man a Sweater, *, unless you've got the ring, and that is referring to the sweater curse. So, that you shouldn't knit your boyfriend a sweater because you'll break up, but yes. So you need to be committed to them so that they'll stick around for however long it takes you to knit a sweater. I've been with my husband for 6 years. We've been married for 5, and I've never knit him a sweater with sleeves. Last year I knit him a sweater vest, and that is the closest I've gotten. Although we did, before we started dating, one of the early things that we did together, just him and me, was I taught him to arm knit a cowl for his sister for Christmas. So, I taught him to knit pretty early on, but that was something that only takes less than an hour to knit. But I thought it was a funny title, and it's got just a bunch of different patterns for your partner of various levels of commitment. So there are beanies, there are scarves, and there are sweaters, socks as well, mittens. Oh gee, that's beautiful. Houndstooth vest. I like that. Yep, here we go. Finally, some sweaters. Yep. One day I'll make my husband a sweater. I think he's sticking around. But I've got some sweaters, and they look pretty nice. Pretty nice patterns. I mostly borrowed the book because it had a funny title, and I think that the sweater curse is kind of funny. But yeah, so there's that one. Never knit your man a sweater unless you've got the ring. Do what you want though. If you want to knit your boyfriend a sweater, just do it, whatever. Anyway, the third book that I borrowed from the library that I wanted to show you is called Knitting from the Centre Out. And it is, the subtext is an introduction to revolutionary knitting with 28 modern projects. And it's by Daniel Yuhas. And as you would probably expect from the title, it is about knitting patterns from the centre out. And I just thought it was really interesting. So this book's Knitting from the Centre Out. Yeah, it's got some pretty... I like patterns that are... a little bit out of the ordinary, because a lot of clothes are constructed in a very similar way to one another, so it is really cool to see how other people will have a different take on a project. So for example, this scarf here, I would never think that it was knitted from the center out, but the fact that people can be so creative to make something like that is just really inspiring. And so there are some hats, again, I think hats are pretty obviously done from the centre out most of the time. That was a pretty interesting hat though. It was a child's witch's hat. But they've got, what I thought was pretty cool was they had socks knitted from the centre out, which I thought looked awesome. So there are some there, and I just thought they were really neat. And you can see they sort of start from the heel and go out. I really liked that. It's just the ingenious way of thinking about designing shapes and things from patterns. They've even got some toys. They got a teddy bear knit from the center out, and they've got shawls and blankets. A lot of them are round. I guess that's not surprising. Some of them, like the baby blankets, I think would only really be good for like a playmat, or for laying the baby down on. I wouldn't wrap a baby in a round blanket. Maybe that's just me, but it's nice to have flat edges that you can tuck in well. They've got even some beautiful sweaters there, and this shrug I really like, because you can see that it is an interesting construction there. You can see that it is knit from the center out. I don't know if there's a picture of the back. Yeah, and so the unusual shaping of it becomes a design feature, and I really love that. I think it's just so clever. All these clever designers, even a hoodie from the hood down. Isn't that great? Anyway, I'm probably not going to knit anything from this before I return it, but it is just really fun to look through books. I love using my local library, and it's the sort of thing that later on down the track, if I'm like, I want to knit something, I might remember a pattern from a book that I'd borrowed ages ago and go and find it again and borrow it, and then I'll knit something from it. So yeah, that is the end of my video. It came out a bit longer than I thought it would, but I guess there was a lot to say about those 6 books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for my next episode, which should be a podcast episode, and I will talk a little bit about my giveaway, which I will be running once I get to 1,000 subscribers. So last I checked, I was at 991, so I'm very close to 1,000. Once I get to 1,000, I will record a podcast and have a giveaway for you guys. And then also, keep an eye out for the blanket along, which I will share some details about in my next podcast episode as well. So that should be a couple of weeks away, maybe 1 week, depending on if I get lots of knitting done that I can show you, or if I get to 1,000 subscribers. So just make sure you're subscribed if you're interested in the giveaway, and hit the bell icon if you want to know when I will upload my next video. And I think that's everything I have to say. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next episode. See ya.